This is Sky Sports Live.
Saturday Night Football, live from the Coca-Cola Championship.
Billy's a bright boy, but he has a very short attention span.
Saturday Night Football.
They're celebrating 10 years at the Britannia Stadium. It's Carnival Day. Stoke City at home for the first time this season. Live on Saturday Night Football from the Coca-Cola Championship, Stoke against the promotion favourites Charlton Athletic, Sky Sports 1, and also available in high definition. Well, it's 9 years since these sides last met in the league. Stoke City off to an absolute flyer at Cardiff on the opening day. Charlton held at home, but they're hoping to get back into the Premier League at the first time of asking, just as they did 7 years ago. Peter Beagrie is a former Stoke City player, and Pete, we've had awful conditions here this afternoon, an absolute deluge. You're concerned how it's going to actually affect the game?
Well, there's going to be littered with defensive mistakes, I think, so it'll be a feast of football as far as we're concerned. It's a defender's nightmare. We've got a lot of decent forward players on show today, so it's definitely going to favour the forwards.
Two very different sides, contrasting styles, what do you expect?
Yeah, absolutely. Tony Pullis's size, you know, the two banks of four, there's 8 there, and then the lead it's Fuller and Sidibe, who are a handful, very, very pacey to get in the channels, a lot more direct than the Charlton side, who this pitch will suit because they're a lot more fluent, good passing movements and plenty of players with individual ability.
Stoke City, even though it's early days, could go top with a 2-0 win here today. The commentators this afternoon, Don Goodman and Bill Leslie.
Very good early season test this for the new look Charlton Athletic, many people's promotions favourites. Not many sides over the last 12 months have come away from the Britannia Stadium with much to smile about. Stoke looking to build on that fine opening day win at Cardiff and win back-to-back games at the start of a season for the first time in 4 years. Well, they have to do it without Danny Higginbottom. The captain failed a late fitness test, so new signing Jody Craddock, on loan from Wolves, who only arrived here yesterday, goes straight into the side. Ryan Shawcross, on loan from Manchester United, lines up alongside him. He's scored 2 in his first 2 games. He's one of 3 other summer arrivals in the lineup. Richard Cresswell in midfield, and Stephen Wright on loan from Sunderland, looking for an injury-free season at last. A combination of a little bit of old and a lot of new at Charlton this season. 32 players coming and going over the summer. Just 4 of the new boys in this side, though 2 of them already attracting a fair bit of attention. French fullback Yacine Moutakil and Portuguese midfielder Jose Semedo, both young at under 22 years old. A first championship start for his new club for Eisel McLeod. He partners Marcus Bent, who celebrated his 100th career goal against Scunthorpe at the Valley last week. 2 changes then from that opening day draw. Among the Stoke City substitutes, the manager's son, Anthony Pulis, and the former West Bromwich Albion goalkeeper, Russell Holt, who's made his switch here permanent over the summer, and Zheng Ji, the Chinese international captain, among the substitutes for Charlton, ready to make his first appearance of the season. We note on that Stoke City were doing everything they could to get Danny Higginbottom fit, the man who would be wearing the captain's armband, Dominic Matteo wearing it in his absence. How much of a blow is his absence going to be for Stoke?
Well, it could prove to be a huge blow. I mean, he was the mainstay, foundation of a terrific defensive performance that they had throughout the whole of last season. And the other side of that is, of course, he chipped in with 7 goals. Stoke are definitely a threat from set pieces, and they're going to miss Danny Higginbottom in that respect.
Wearing the captain's armband for Charlton, the more diminutive figure of Andy Reid, restored to full fitness. There's Tony Pulis, the Stoke City manager. Carnival Day here at the Britannia Stadium, but very much tinged with a genuine tragedy. We'll have a minute's silence before kick-off as a tribute to a 15-year-old Stoke City supporter, Daniel Shaw, who was killed in a road accident just outside the ground on the way to a pre-season game here. Lovely tributes paid all around the ground, and floral tributes outside by the statue of Sir Stanley Matthews, which you saw here. Stoke City now preparing to kick off their home campaign. It all went very much according to plan for them on day one. A little bit of a backs-to-the-wall rearguard action for them at Ninian Park as they held on to beat Cardiff City. Well, now they have one of the championship favourites here to contend with on day one. It's a new-look Charlton Athletic, but a Charlton side who are looking to go one better than they managed on day one, when they were somewhat surprised by Scunthorpe, who ran them all the way, and they had to work very hard for their point. It's Charlton in their change blue strip with Andy Reid immediately looking for Marcus Bent, the goalscorer against Scunthorpe on day one. Here is Reid, and Bent again. Ben Thatcher, the fullback, on the overlapping run, but Bent will look to feed the cross in. Not a bad one as well. Lloyd Sam got there, but couldn't really trouble the Stoke City goalkeeper, Steve Simonson.
Well, Alan Pardew will be pleased. It's a nice, positive start by his team. Lots of possession, particularly going through Andy Reid, and we can expect to see quite a lot more of that, I would suspect.
So many changes on and off the field at Charlton over the summer. Massive change in playing staff, both high-profile leavings and, of course, the sad redundancies that generally follow at clubs after relegation. And, of course, plenty of new arrivals as Charlton look to build again and do what they did last time they were relegated 7 years ago and bounce back up.
That's good pressure from Ricardo Fuller, isn't it? Chasing a lost cause, and by doing that, he's earned himself a corner.
They're in-your-face footballers, Stoke City. That's the style of Tony Pulis and the style of his sides wherever he's managed. It's the first corner of the afternoon, and it's set pieces that we've already seen in the very early stages of this Football League season proved to be so important how they're dealt with or how they're executed.
Well, young Ryan Shawcross already scored, didn't he, on the opening game of the season against Cardiff City. Corner at the near post, flicked on, and we know Stoke are very, very, very big, powerful team, and they are going to be dangerous from set pieces.
Well, Rory Delap's going to launch this one in. Ben Thatcher underneath it. Jonathan Fortune back there as well. Charlton struggling to clear it away, and an early save definitely required there by Nicky Weaver. He's done enough to keep his side on level terms.
Well, as if to highlight the point, it's not particularly direct from the corner, but it's the second ball, isn't it? And Stoke are onto it in a flash. Managed to get a shot off. Charlton Athletic somewhat panically get that away.
Liam Lawrence is going to take their second corner here. Not quite as effective of the one that has preceded it.
I guess that will be his manager's pet hate, I would think, hitting the first man from a corner. When you've got that ability to deliver good crosses, it's a criminal.
And they've left plenty forward here, Stoke City. And Delap looking to cause yet more consternation with a giant throw into the penalty area. The whole way past everyone, such was the power of it. It's more wonderful skill to try and open things up there. Nicky Weaver, again very busy. Stoke City have come out of the traps flying.
I suspected they would, and Alan Pardew got on record before this game as to say he's going to know an awful lot more about his team and their character after the 90 minutes of this evening's game, illustrating why already.
Very big side, Big Mama Sidibe among those in there. He's the one who rises and couldn't direct his header on target.
I think, to be fair to Charlton, I think the referee had blown Big Mama Sidibe climbing all over the back of the defender. Certainly gives you an idea of what's to come. Here's a save from Nicky Weaver. It's a long throw. Charlton really struggled to get it cleared. Stoke latch onto it, and it's a good save low to his left. Charlton already under pressure.
Relegation from the Premiership manifests itself in several different ways, but you get your wake-up calls when you come back into the Championship in terms of what sides throw at you, and Charlton a little bit surprised in some ways by the way that Scunthorpe were able to contain them and take the game to them at some points last week, and this is a real test, as we've said already here.
I think they're certainly going to have to get used to it, Bill, because that's what they're going to be up against most weeks.
Liam Lawrence on the march here.
Seen a lot of the ball. on that left side, causing a few problems for Charlton. It's not particularly the start that Alan Kirbishley would have wanted. Look at that, it's 4 corners already for Nicky Weaver in the Charlton goal to already have to contend with.
Just about one every minute so far. The Charlton defence have been creaking so far. Can they repel this latest battery from the home side? Weaver at full stretch, it's effective enough.
The thing about that's Dominic Matteo. It's Marcus Bent. It's Charlton's predominant striker having to play in the left-back area and block across. Not ideal.
Another long one from Rory Delap. This is Richard Cresswell. Playing a slightly unaccustomed midfield role, but one of these seemingly settling into well early on in the season for Stoke. Ricardo Fuller.
He's clever there, Ricardo Fuller. He knows that Jonathan Fortune is only got one option really, and that's to poke the ball out for a corner. His team will take that.
Nicky Weaver looking on closely, and finally there's a little bit of a reprieve for Charlton.
You can see Nicky Weaver trying to calm everybody down. Certainly won't be in a rush or a hurry to take this goal kick. Just give his side a little bit of a breather, but Tony Pulis, he's going to be delighted with the start that his team's made.
Well, he knows how close they came last season to gate crashing the playoff party. Stoke City, they were among that cluster of clubs just outside the final reckoning. They took it to the final day. They needed to win and hope that others slipped up. It didn't quite work out that way as they drew at Queen's Park Rangers, but you look at it over the course of the season and they know if they've been able to turn one of their draws into a win over the course of the 9 months, then they would have been in the shake-up, and that's how close it was, and may well be again.
Well, I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but they got off to a terrible start last season, Stoke. Only one win in the first 10 games, and ultimately be the thing that actually cost them.
By Ricardo Fuller, who's looking for his strike partner, Nana Sidibe. Another big physical presence on the bench in John Parkin. But here is Sidibe, the better of his former teammate John Fortune, who was on loan here last season. And it's yet another corner.
I'm pretty sure that John Fortune would have pre-warned his Charlton teammates what to expect, and certainly Stoke City not disappointing them.
Knowing what to expect is one thing, dealing with it, as Charlton are finding out, quite another. In it comes again from Liam Lawrence. He'll get another chance to get it in, the former Sunderland man. Other than that first attack when Lloyd Sam put it wide from that deep cross, it has been all Stoke City, and the possession statistic bears that out. The deluge of corners they've had, these long throws have caused just as much concern, and it's just wide from Jody Craddock, the new boy.
I think he's hurt himself, Bill. Couldn't quite see exactly what happened, but once again...
Shawcross, isn't it, who got his head to it last.
Yeah. Well, as the ball comes in, it's a long throw, and it's just a clash of heads, isn't it? Very innocent, but worrying for Alan Pardew that it's a Stoke City head that's getting on the end of those long throws and corners.
Yet another in this production line of centre-halves that seem to be coming out of Manchester United. And you remember last season the contribution of Johnny Evans, who was on loan to Sunderland and played a big part along with Danny Simpson in helping them across the line to the Championship. Well, this young man is on loan from Manchester United for 6 months here to start off with anyway. And already his contribution has been invaluable. 2 goals in his first 2 games. He's not a player they'll want to lose, particularly with Danny Higginbottom injured, of course, and missing out because of that ankle injury.
Well, Tony Pulis, he really used the loan system extremely well last season, didn't he? To the benefit of everybody at Stoke City. Brought in some quality players. Really helped his team go ever so close in the end.
Deep in discussion with his assistant Tony Pulis, Dave Kemp. In terms of options as centre-halves on the bench, they're looking a little bit shaky. Lewis Buxton, the only out-and-out defender they have there. Well, he's up, which is a good sign. We'll hope that running repairs will be enough to get the teenager up and running again.
He's moving very gingerly, isn't he? Just when you bang heads, just hope that he hasn't got any slight concussion. He's talking there away, and that's a positive sign.
What about it? It has been a highly eventful start to his Stoke City career. It's been a highly eventful start to this match. They've done everything but score. The home side picking up exactly where they would want to in this home campaign. The meanest defence in the Championship they had last season. Only 3 sides came here to the Britannia Stadium and ended up beating Stoke.
Impressive record, that. 3 home defeats out of 23. I'm sure they'd take that again.
And a chance for Charlton to enter opposition territory. There's Fuller. Jose Semedo, the 22-year-old young Portuguese man who wouldn't really have experienced too much like this in his career so far with Sporting Lisbon. Ben Thatcher. Semedo looking to spread play and doing so effectively. He's picked out Sam, and Charlton have options in the middle, and they get the deflection and they get their corner count up and running.
Well, I think they'll be pleased to get out of their own half for a start. But, I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of young Lloyd Sam picking that ball up. Charlton are going to look to feed him, to get at his fullback and cut inside and get shots in.
And Jonathan Fortune has come forward. Majid Bouguera, the other centre-half for Charlton, also inside the Stoke City box. Hazel McLeod and Marcus Bent lurking as well. Not the tallest side, but if they can get the right ball, they can make things happen. Ambrose looking to deliver just that. It's not bad at all. Andy Reid trying to get on the end of it, but it's Ricardo Fuller for Stoke City.
Well, I think there would have been 1 or 2 grumbles had that ball ended up in the back of the Stoke net, to be honest with you. Steve Simonson not happy. Charlton planted a man right on his toes. He was obstructed. He'll be encouraging the referee to look out for that, I'm sure, from the next corner.
One of the heroes of the piece last week, wasn't he, Steve Simonson, with that double save from the Steve McLean penalty to keep their 1-0 scoreline intact, which ended up the winning scoreline.
It's incredible over the course of a season, you know, if you look at how many points a good goalkeeper will add to your total, your final total, and he certainly got Stoke City 2 bonus points last season with that terrific double save.
Seems to have been around for a long, long time, doesn't he, Steve Simonson? Still only in his mid to late 20s, though. And the most expensive teenage goalkeeper when Everton paid over £3 million to take him from Tranmere Rovers, you might remember. Here's Darren Ambrose. And Moutakil, the French under-21 international captain. Lloyd Sam. He tried to work a return ball to him. That is with Moutakil. Ambrose have made the move from midfield, but they weren't going to be fooled there, Stoke City. A tidy turn here from Ricardo Fuller. And he's seen a gap right at the heart of the Charlton defence and looks to try and bulldoze his way through it. In the end, just the odds stacked up against him.
Well, they just crowded him out in the end, didn't they, Charlton? They know the danger that he represents. You've got to get bodies around him when he's running at you, because he's got good pace to get beyond defences, and Charlton are fully aware of that.
Top scorer last season for Stoke City, Ricardo Fuller. 11 goals, and 8 of those coming on his home patch here at the Britannia. Someone's lost the boot. It's Jonathan Fortune, and it could just open up here for Stoke. An audacious attempt to finish it off there from Rory Delap, but he put it wide.
Well, that goes down. It's a fantastic chance. He just seemed to dwindle. I'm not sure he knew what was around him, but that's more of what we expect from Stoke. A long ball up to Sidibe, who lost his boot. Great flick, and he's in there, but just kind of got the ball a little bit stuck between his feet and under good pressure in the end from the Charlton defence. Great opportunity.
Another one out there who will just be pleased to be playing again, even though he won't be pleased that he wasn't able to finish that off. He's already made so far this season more appearances for Stoke than he did in the whole of last. Broke his leg against his former club Sunderland here back in October 2006, and that ruled him out for the rest of the season.
Just seems to be a feature, doesn't it, now, of modern day football. Injuries, spells on the sideline. I tell you, that's the thing that players hate the most. They really do.
That just gone out of play before Jonathan Fortune played it back in. Interesting reception here for Jonathan Fortune. He may well have been lining up today in the red of Stoke City. The two clubs, Charlton and Stoke, agreed a fee for him. Decided, though, to fight for his place with the South Londoners rather than come back here, where, of course, he was last season.
I wonder if Roy Keane's statement was anything to do with that. Does his wife like the shops in London? Any good shops in Stoke?
Famous for its boutiques. Here's Sidibe. He's on his 6'5" frame unfairly, according to the referee. Graham Laws, by the way, the man in charge here at the Britannia this afternoon.
I suspect Mr. Laws is going to have plenty of decisions just like that to make. Two big lads up front for Stoke are going to be certainly wrestling and tangling with the defenders. And it's open then to Mr. Laws' interpretation of the situation.
It was billed beforehand, this match, as a clash of footballing styles. The physical approach of Stoke City and the way that Alan Pardew likes his side to play football, the way he perceives to be the right way. And no doubt about it, Stoke's more direct approach has caused more problems early on. Here's Ricardo Fuller. Taken off his toes by Sam. Ambrose back there doing some defending, and he's fouled Stephen Wright.
Once again, if you're Charlton, you can't really afford to give cheap free kicks away to Stoke City. Already seen the danger that they represent from these set pieces.
And they're queuing up in red and white stripes in the middle there. Nicky Weaver perhaps could have caught it, but he's got it away from the danger area. Where Marcus Bent has to do his defending. No one up there as a result, taken on the end of his forward pass.
Makes you wonder if Nicky Weaver has seen one or two goalkeepers recently slip the ball out their hands accidentally in the rain. It's probably the reason that under these conditions he chose to punch that ball.
The conditions weather-wise here at the moment are about as good as they have been all afternoon. Still wet underfoot, but the rain that has been incessant all day has actually just eased off. Here's Semedo, composed first touch. And Reid. Mutakil has provided the overlapping run, and here comes Darren Ambrose. Charlton very nearly did enough to unlock the door.
Well, it's good passing and movement by Charlton. Really good down that right-hand side. Both full-back and winger. It's a good overlap to create the space for Sam to come inside, and that's what Darren Ambrose does ever so well, week in, week out. He makes those runs from deep, gets in behind. It's a good strike, does the right thing, just doesn't quite hit the target.
He's already off the mark this season, scored in the Carling Cup win at Swindon in the week. It wasn't quite such a happy Carling Cup outing for Stoke City, beaten here on penalties by Rochdale. Ricardo Fuller. Bulgara there just in the nick of time. Signs starting to appear, though, Don, that Charlton are starting to get their game going.
Well, just approaching close to 20 minutes, and it is important when you come away from home that you do try ever so hard to keep it tight for the first 20 minutes, try and quieten the home crowd down a little bit. And Charlton just appear, slowly but surely, to be doing that.
I'll hope that they've ridden this early storm, but very easy to invite pressure on. And I hope they haven't done that from that free kick given away by Mutakil. Stephen Wright's free kick, and Sidibe looked for one of his own.
Again, he's looking at the assistant referee on this near side. There was a bit of wrestling going on, but 6 2-3 as far as the referee's concerned. Probably rightly so.
Shawcross on a positive side for Stoke seems to have shrugged off any ill effects from that collision of heads a little earlier on in the game. New defensive partner for him in the new boy Jody Craddock, signed in the nick of time as it turns out from Wolves. What a goal it was he scored this week, by the way, in the Carling Cup.
A rocket volley, wasn't it? Saw the reaction of his teammates, saw the reaction of Jody Craddock actually, a little bit of disbelief, but what a fantastic strike it was. I think in light of the fact that they've lost Higginbottom today, he's as good a signing as they possibly could have made. I mean, he's got bags and bags of championship experience, been promoted from this league more than once. And, very good signing for Stoke, Jody Craddock.
They have struggled to bring players in. They've got close with several, the latest of which was the Leeds winger Eddie Lewis, who was reportedly on the brink of joining here before deciding that he'd go to Derby County. Andy Griffin as well, another. He was here last season, of course. There's another corner for the Potters, this time won by Ricardo Fuller.
So he only had one thing in his mind, Ricardo Fuller, when he was faced up. Just wanted to get the ball out of his feet down the line, and it's got a corner.
Dickinson tries the cross, and they have yet another chance for a flag kick. One of the youth products here, Carl Dickinson, the young player of the year last season.
Carroll, at this rate, we're in line for a world record of corner kicks, aren't we?
First one among the targets in there for Stoke. Sidibe, the man who got his head to it, and there's the call from Weaver.
Well, in the main, they've dealt fairly well with the set pieces that Stoke have thrown in at them, the Charlton defence. As I say, they're now through that all-important 20-minute mark. They're just settling in and certainly finding a little bit more space, people like Andy Reid.
You often hear managers, don't you, talk about earning the right to play your football, and Charlton hope that they've gone through that stage of the game. There's Lloyd Sam, Director of Youth Products for Stoke with Dickinson. Well, he's one who's come up through the ranks at Charlton. Thatcher, movement up front from Marcus Bent. Good work from Ben. Isel McLeod here. Rounded out by Jody Craddock.
He did very well, Marcus Bent, but surprisingly, only 2 Charlton players in the box when he's trying to cross that ball. I don't particularly think that's enough. I think they've got to commit more midfielders to join those strikers when they get good possession out wide.
Saw how well it worked when Ambrose nearly threaded through and put his shot just wide. Here's Mutakil and Ambrose. G. Bruguera. Will be new in terms of the summer, but still an Alan Pardew signing in January. Ben Thatcher playing just down below us here at left back. Isel McLeod just took his eye off the ball at the crucial moment as he was looking to set it up for Mutakil. He needs to get back now as Stoke look to get forward. Lawrence has found Sidibe. This has turned out quite nicely for Charlton. McLeod. Ambrose. There's the movement from Isel McLeod, who's taken Craddock with him. Charlton might need reinforcements in the box here from midfield. Ambrose has taken up his position. Now Andy Reid. Thatcher.
That's a good early, clear, loud call from Simonson, isn't it? Takes control of the situation. Goalkeeper's ball, that's what his defenders want behind him.
Starting to segue a little bit down that right-hand side, aren't they? The full-back and midfielder, Mutakil and Sam. Certainly a defender who likes to get forward, the young Frenchman. Signed for just under £500,000 in the summer from French club Châteauroux.
Good reports in the early games about him. Very, very fast, attack-minded fullback. Once again, he's got to get used to the way that the English Championship is played.
I think it's an afternoon, isn't it, where Alan Pardew finds out a lot about his new side that he's putting together. Very well in the planning and what he does on the training ground, but put them in a situation like this against one of the real sluggers in this division and find out exactly how they cope. So far they've held on. It's no doubt about it, belonged to Stoke the first half of this first half. Sidibe nearly got the return.
Very quiet, the crowd, Bill. Very, very quiet. Stoke team out there on the pitch probably do with a little bit of encouragement from them. They have dominated this first half so far, as you've said, but it is very quiet. They are a partisan crowd, Stoke City, always a difficult place to come. It's surprisingly quiet.
And it's a very public appeal from Tony Pulis to the fans to turn up in force today and to try and make this place as fortress it was last season. But, a few murmurs of discontent amongst some of the supporters over the lack of summer transfer activity.
Well, you would think, I was going to say, you would think when they go away to Cardiff, another strong team, and come back with the 3 points, that will give the locals an awful lot of encouragement.
Very early days, of course, and a lot of people don't put too much in the table after just a couple of games, but if they do manage to win by more than a couple of clear goals here, Stoke, they will be top of the fledgling championship table.
It's very early days, isn't it? I'm sure Tony Pulis be delighted to be on 6 points after 2 games, but I won't read too much into the fact that his team are top of the table.
Shawcross. Bent and Semedo. Asking too much of Sam, and you saw there the slickness of the playing surface. It just skidded away.
They'll be more precise than that. They're going to play the passing game. It's got to be inch perfect.
Gives the impression, certainly from up here, of being a fairly narrow pitch. They'll need to get it just right, Charlton, which is what they attempt to do here. Then the fulcrum of the attack, Mutakil.
It's a big enough pitch when I used to play on it, Bill, I can assure you of that, my friend.
Reid. And Thatcher. Ambrose wants the early ball and gets it. Not an inch their way forward. Reid and Ambrose, good little bit of combination play. It's away by Shawcross. And now Sidibe can stretch those long legs a bit.
Well, Charlton got bodies around him. Once again, aware of the threat of his pace and power. And those bodies did the job.
Here's Sam. Just had his ankles clipped there by Richard Cresswell. Whether intentional or not, it is a free kick. Sense Charlton growing in confidence, and this is Bent.
They're not committing too many bodies forward, and he's almost ploughing a lone furrow up there, Marcus Bent. Very, very difficult job. McLeod's played further left than I thought he may. He's doing a good job.
He's giving it away there, right on cue, Don.
Couldn't get a bet on, could you?
And Cresswell hauled to the ground by Mutakil. They're looking for a free kick. It's not going to come. Speaking about Marcus Bent playing alone up front, it's well, you think back a few seasons at Everton where he did that week in, week out very effectively. He's got McLeod for company. Now Reid. happy, the Stoke fans, that Charlton are playing on, because there's a man down in the centre of the Stoke midfield, and eventually it's rolled out of play.
That's very sporting. Doesn't have to, but it's Stephen Wright. And I think he has got a history of ankle problems and knee problems, but what happens here, he just catches his ankle, I think. Twists. You see he goes to grab that left ankle.
Surely not again. It is a long tail of injuries for Stephen Wright over the last few years. Moved from Sunderland in the summer. He's on loan here, as we've mentioned already, but only 5 appearances for Sunderland in the last 2 years.
He's in pain there. You can see that clearly on his face. He's not the one to put anything on like that, and I worry for him.
Some players have no luck at all. If this is as bad as it looks early on, then it's very unfortunate for Stephen Wright.
Just left ankle just gets caught in the turf and kicked, and it's a horrible twist. And look, he is very upset, and you can understand why. No luck whatsoever.
He's absolutely devastated, poor Stephen Wright, and you can understand why.
I said earlier, didn't I, that injuries are becoming part and parcel of football. But when you're just making your way back from a horrific run of injuries, the last thing that you expect is to get injured again. He's in a lot of pain there. I just hope that it's not as bad as it first seems.
I remember a game when Sunderland were promoted the last time before this season. The opening day was against Charlton when he did his knee ligaments, and then it's been a catalogue of injuries since then. Ankle surgery on a couple of occasions. And he made his return last season on the final day in the win against Luton, which secured Sunderland's promotion. Came here for a fresh start and hopefully a new little bit of luck, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that way.
Such an innocuous looking challenge as well. Pure accident. Cruel hard luck.
You certainly feel for Stephen Wright. Lewis Buxton, his replacement, the former Portsmouth trainee, is going to come on, who's had injury problems himself. He missed the whole of last year with a back injury. He made 1 appearance last year. Well, this is his first this year.
I'd be pleased to get an opportunity, but he certainly wouldn't have wanted to get it the way that he has got it, at the expense of an injured Stephen Wright.
Here's Majid Bouguera. Dickinson rose higher than Sam, but it's given Isel McLeod something to chase here. So much space down his left-hand side, isn't there, Don?
Well, there's nobody in the box, literally. They've got the ball in a good possession, sort of 10-15 yards away from the Stoke City byline, and absolutely nobody in the penalty area looking to get on the end of crosses.
Sam, here's Mutakil. There's one to attack, but Simonson out smartly.
I just think they've got good opportunities, Charlton, to get the ball out in those wide areas, particularly to Sam, who looks lively. And he can provide crosses, and statistics will tell you amazingly high percentage of goals that come from crosses and set pieces.
Here's Sabibi with a cross of his own away by Bouguera, not altogether effectively. Lawrence nearly got lucky.
Well, you can see there that after that incredible 15-minute whirlwind, that Charlton have come right back into the game. They're dominating the possession at the moment.
It's been a while since the last meeting. 7 years since they met in the League Cup. Stoke won that one on away goals after a 5-all aggregate draw. Don't think we're going to get quite the same sort of goal fest here today. Always the sort of afternoon you expect, where One goal's enough to decide it.
I think everybody knew it was going to be fairly tight. As we said before the game, Stoke, terrific defence. And Charlton themselves have added to the defensive part of their squad as well. And you're right, I think the first goal could prove all important.
One of the other elements that Stoke will be looking to improve on this season from last is the amount of points they squandered when they were in front. 24, I think, over the course of the season. They could have been better off if they've held on to positions that they were in at one stages of the game or other.
And a couple of particularly important games towards the end of the season, I seem to remember, really cost them.
It's been a few minutes since we've seen a chance for Rory Delap to launch one in. Here he goes again. Andy Reid able to hook clear. Marcus Bent, the only man left up. Isel McLeod. Now here comes Mutakil, so close to getting away, but that's excellent work by Cresswell.
That is super work by Richard Cresswell, because Charlton were away, make no mistake about that. There was room behind, and he was going to be the last man to time it to perfection. The manager will be very pleased with him.
Striker playing in midfield, and with a challenge to match. Very well there, Cresswell. Here he is on the ball. Crowded out, as Charlton have done effectively on many occasions so far. Here's Thatcher. Bent. And not many people committing themselves forward for Charlton. This is Lloyd Sam. There's Mutakil behind him.
Just wonder if that's why they don't commit too many bodies forward, to be fair. Terrible attempt at the cross. It was good build-up play. One that he'll want to forget, I'm sure.
It was a fairly stormy start to the match, wasn't it? His first one away in this division with Charlton Athletic. So he'll be pleased the way that they have steadied themselves.
They've certainly done that. They've regrouped, rode the storm out, and now they're well in this game. You do get the impression, though, that perhaps they might be relatively happy with a point.
Bugera's back.
Perfect example there of Stoke and what they do to you. It's just slip down the channel, striker chases it, and you know full well that the defender has only got one option, and that's to put it out for a throw-in. And when you've got Rory Delap launching these balls into the box, it's good percentage play.
It's a real power to it as well as the distance, doesn't he?
It's very flat, isn't it? He just gets incredible power and distance on it.
There's Jody Craddock. Thatcher can clear as far as Andy Reid here. Not really in any shape or form seen the best of Andy Reid yet, the Charlton supporters, but a fit Andy Reid is a massive player for them potentially this season. Well, how about this for a Super Sunday of action? A reminder that it all kicks off with the Manchester derby, City against United. So tomorrow 1 o'clock, Sky Sports 1 and HD 1, and then to Merseyside the spotlight swings for Liverpool against Chelsea. That follows 3:30 again in HD 1 and on Sky Sports 1. Mamadi Sidibe. Stolen by Mutakil. Marcus Bent. What's gone against Rory Delap somehow?
Well, I think he was having his shirt pulled, wasn't he? Upset with the referee's decision there. Willis, Charlton getting on with it quickly.
Reid found a way through to Lloyd Sam, and this is certainly the side where Charlton look most threatening. Terrific defending by young Dickinson. It's a Charlton corner.
I think this game is there for Charlton to get at Stoke. I have to say, I'm very impressed with Lloyd Sam. gets on the ball, he's very direct, he's got a trick or two, he's certainly got pace. And if I were Charlton, I'd be ramming the ball down his throat as much as I could.
Andy Reid, it's close to the keeper and very nearly snuck in by Bent at the far post. Simonson came and didn't get close.
Wow, that was a fantastic delivery. Stoke in all kinds of problems. This is what he brings to the table, Andy Reid. Look at that. And just doesn't quite read the flight, Marcus Bent. I think he probably thinks that young Shawcross is going to head that ball away, but he doesn't. And in the end, it's an opportunity.
Premiership quality is what he can provide, isn't it, Andy Reid?
I think Charlton, again, I've just said about Lloyd Sam getting him on the ball, but getting Andy Reid on the ball in space and time, he can hurt you. We've seen it.
Here he is now, Reid. Just about kept that one in play, and so doing lost his momentum.
There's always been this question mark over his fitness, Andy Reid. I know he's had injuries, he's a quality player, not quite fulfilled the obvious potential that he's got, and it's a huge season for him, huge season.
At the start of his second season, he's really his 20th game for Charlton. Just a good half of the Premiership season last year through the succession of hamstring problems mainly that have kept him out. Dickinson. Fuller. Bugara's across there, and across comes Mutakil as well. Cresswell takes up the challenge, and it is a challenge from Mutakil, which leads to yet another Stoke City corner.
Now it's the first little threat for a little while from Stoke. They seem to go in their shell a little bit, but obvious opportunity to get a dangerous ball in there. It's all about the quality of the delivery.
Sure he hasn't got a little cut there, Samido. Referee just having a look, and Andy Reid playing physio. He's fine, off we go. That's what he's trying to say anyway.
Not a magic sponge in sight.
Shawcross with the near post run. And that was as good a chance as Stoke have had. Dominic Matteo, the captain, has glanced it wide.
There's no doubt about it. That should be 1-0 Stoke. You said about the quality of the delivery. Well, it doesn't get better than this. What a ball that is fizzed in. It's a good run by Matteo, but once he gets there, he has to hit the target from there. And if he hits the target, he puts his team in front. All kinds of movement, but once he gets in front of the goalkeeper and away from his marker, he's got to score, and he knows it.
They did the home and away win over Derby County last season, and in February the win at Pride Park. That's the last time Dominic Matteo was on target, and he was on loan here last season from Blackburn. Reid.
The less said about that, the better. Talented young man, but certainly not going to be happy with that effort.
Reid and Wheat. Bugara. Parkin strongly. Now Isel McLeod. Taken away from Samido. But it's back with Charlton and with Isel McLeod. Understandably, they look for Sam, but they don't manage to find him.
There are times when they've retained possession well, obviously. There are times where just that final quality of the ball just hasn't been quite good enough from Charlton.
You touched already, Don, on the fact that Charlton might well see a point here as a good result. When you look at how the sides promoted from the Championship last season got on here at the Britannia Stadium. A draw with Birmingham City 0-0 early on in the season. Both Sunderland and Derby came here and lost.
Well, it is a tough place to come. Always has been. And, especially the way Stoke play football. They're up and at you. generally get a minute's respite, to be honest with you. And that's what Charlton found out, certainly for the first 15 minutes.
10 years now at the Britannia Stadium, of course, and ever since their playoff win in 2002, they have been at this level. Here goes Delap again. And that was another golden chance. Sidibe this time.
That's incredible, really. It's just a long, high throw into the box. They don't deal with it. They let Young get Shawcross get the flick on, and nobody, not anybody anywhere near him to flick that ball on. It drops down. It's a kind bounce. It just takes a huge swing. And again, you know, if there was any kind of a criticism of the front two of Stoke, it's that not particularly clinical in front of goal. The conversion of percentage chances to actual goals is fairly low.
There we go, 4 minutes added on to the end of this first half, and most of it, no doubt, because of the injury to poor old Stephen Wright. And this has turned out nicely for Sidibe. Couldn't pick out Lawrence, but the clearance from Thatcher is not as convincing as it might have been.
Andy Reid doing the ugly side of the game, if you like. Just got to see this through now to half-time, Charlton. I'm sure Alan Pardew, as we said, he would take 0-0 at half-time. Just look to build on that in the second half.
He was very unhappy last week, wasn't he, with the defending that led to that Scunthorpe equaliser. Marcus Bent was singled out for a little bit of criticism, was failing to pick up his man now. Well, it was a central defender, Shawcross, which nearly led to the goal for Stoke City a few moments ago when Sidibe put it wide.
Well, and previous to that, Dominic Matteo's header as well. Not a Charlton defender in sight, to be honest with you. And once again, I'm sure he'll look at that in the cold light of day, and he's got to redress that for the second half.
It's away by Craddock. Thatcher. Here's McLeod.
I think both teams have decided they'd like to get in at half-time at 0-0. Just one player up for Stoke. Same for Charlton. Awful lot of bodies behind the ball, and just running down the clock particularly.
Here's Bugera. Sam. And Jonathan Fortune. Reid. Sam. He's got plenty to take on here. And Craddock provided the barrier. Mutakil. Fell by Dickinson. And in the last minute of first half added time, Charlton have a chance to test this resilient Stoke rearguard.
Once again, you can only ask for that. 45 seconds to the break, and you get the opportunity to get some quality in there. Got to make it count.
Jonathan Fortune, the former Stoke man, is there. Ben trying to free himself from his shackles, and Andy Reid trying to catch out Simonson there with a cheeky little one at the near post.
Certainly kept him on his toes. It's a clever effort. Wasn't to be caught out. Let's see what he was trying to do, though.
Here's Buxton, the first half substitute after the injury withdrawal to Stephen Wright. Breakdown in communications between Lawrence and Sidibe. Samido. Well, Stoke City making much of the running in the first half, but not making the breakthrough that they had the opportunities to do. It is goalless at half-time at the Britannia Stadium.
We'll hear the thoughts of Peter Bigrey on that first half in just a moment. No goals, but chances for both sides. Stoke particularly a threat from set pieces in that first half. It's goalless at half-time at the Britannia Stadium. Second half analysis coming up next. The New Look Saturday all-day football continues after us at 7:30. The football phone in your on Sky Sports, 8:25. For Football First Part 1, it's the game of the day, Tottenham Derby, and then from 10:15, it's Match Choice, all on Sky Sports 1. At the Britannia Stadium, it is goalless at half-time between Stoke City and Charlton Athletic. Peter Bigrey has watched that first half with us. Peter, Stoke really came out the traps flying.
Yeah, they did. Started really, really well, and we knew that through weight of numbers and quality of the ball in the box, that would put Charlton under pressure.
And almost a dream start for Jody Craddock, who was meeting the players just before the game, and here he was, almost scored in 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was a great strike as well if we look at it when it comes to him. It's a great throw by Delap, and as it's cleared by Jonathan Forte, not too well. He's a great left foot strike there, and that's a better save than we give him credit for initially, because it's come through a lot of bodies there. As I say, the ball dropping, Craddock keeps his eye on it and hits a half volley tremendously well. Weaver's down and pushes it away from the goal, which is important. This is what Stoke are all about. Long ball from the back. And we've got Sidibe, who's a handful in the air, wins the first ball, has the presence of mind to get up as he dishes Bagheera, plays it to his partner Fuller, who in turn knocks it to Delap, who can afford to get beyond people because he knows that the ball's not going to come back.
But do you credit Charlton's defenders here for putting him under pressure so he doesn't quite get his shot away as he'd like?
Well, if we have a look there, it's in between his feet. He wants to play it with the outside of his foot, Dave, but this was a great ball in here. And Matteo there, all the pace is on the ball. All you've got to do is direct it. It's not a lot of movement going on. It's just a great ball in, and he's deflected it too wide.
And another set piece, a throw in again from Delap.
Delap again, Shawcross afforded too much space. And we've said Fuller and Sidibe, not natural finishers, and he's just got to get a good purchase on this, and he slashes wildly at it. Should have been up in front at least 2 goals at that stage, Stoke.
But is this what we're talking about, the contrast between Stoke City and Charlton? Stoke with the set pieces, Charlton really trying to play their way through.
Yeah, well, when you're playing with a sort of a 4-5-1 system, you've got to play the ball shorter because your striker's isolated. This is their best transition of play. Midfield player gets on the ball, passes to Reid. Reid goes out wide to Sam, and look at the movement from the full-back. Drags the cover and defender away. Lovely ball inside the centre half. And Ambrose does everything that's asked of him there. Strikes it across the keeper. He's looking for him to palm it out for someone else. If he palms it out, Bent's knocking into an empty net. But that was the best bit of play from Charlton there.
And just at the end of that first half, Charlton with a set piece of their own. Marcus Bent causing problems at the back post.
Yeah, tremendous ball. Andy Reid, we know what he's all about. Got a wand of a left foot. Loads of pace on the ball here, so the keeper gets a track to it. Simonson gets underneath it, and Bent there is unlucky not to get enough on the ball. But if we look at the replay, look at this, hand on the shirt here, there's the movement from Bent. Craddock knows he's lost him, and he just drags him back. If Bent's not strong enough there...
Penalty claims or not?
Definitely penalty claims. If you look at the angle of the referee, though, it was debatable whether he'd got it or not.
Stoke are certainly very strong here. They have a great defensive record as well, the best defence in the Championship. How do Charlton now get through that 2 banks of 4 that you were talking about?
Well, they've got to play the ball a lot shorter. I think McLeod's got to go and join Bent up front because the 2 centre-halves of Stoke are not the most mobile, and if they can get Reid on the ball and he can play balls down the side of the centre-half, then there's goals there for Bent and McLeod.
All right, Peter, thanks very much for the moment. The brass band's here today. So too the 1st Battalion, the Staffordshire Regiment, back from a tour of duty in Iraq. They're parading the pitch now. And Stoke hoping to celebrate 10 years at Britannia Stadium in front of their own fans. The second half against Charlton is coming up next.
Saturday Night Football.
How about this for a Super Sunday from 1 o'clock, the Manchester Derby, Sven against Sir Alex, Sky Sports 1 and HD1. And then it's Battle of the Big Guns, Liverpool-Chelsea, 3:30, Sky Sports 1 and HD1. Goalless at half-time between Stoke City and Charlton. And there are changes afoot from Alan Pardew's side. With news of those, let's get across to our commentators, Don Goodman and Bill Leslie.
Well, Chris Iwelumo, one of the summer arrivals at Charlton, Colchester's top scorer last season, is going to come on here at a club where he was something of a goal-scoring hero in the early 2000s. Jerome Thomas, also, who's had his injury problems through pre-season, is going to come on for his first taste of action this season. So a couple of offensive moves, you would think, Don, with Charlton trying to take the game to Stoke a little bit more.
Well, I think they had to do it, to be honest with you. I think they were second best in the first half. It was Stoke who had the really clear opportunities. And Alan Pardew, fair play to him, to be fair. It's a very attack-minded change, and I was actually a little bit surprised that he didn't start with Uwalumu. His sheer size and height, he could also help out his defence at these dangerous set-piece situations that Stoke have got. So he'll be able to give him a hand now in the second half.
Stoke City, recent successes for them, the auto windscreens shield back in 2000 and the playoff win against Brentford in 2002 that brought them back up to this level of football. Chris Iwelumo heavily involved in both. 103 appearances for the club, 23 goals, and maybe with something of a little point to prove, he was released by Tony Pulis during his first spell in charge here.
I'm sure that's not in the back of his mind at all.
He did score here last season for Colchester, ultimately ended in defeat for Geraint Williams' side. What he will do, no doubt about it, is provide more of a physical presence for Charlton up front as they look to hit Stoke City with a little bit of what they've been hit with themselves. No side at this level in the Championship last season drew more games than Stoke City. They created chances in the first half, couldn't take them. What have we got in store in the second, I wonder?
How often do you see it, Bill, where a side is in the ascendancy, have a lot of opportunities to score, don't take the chance, and end up losing to a sucker punch? And Tony Pulis, I'm sure, fully aware that his team should be in front, and he won't want them to fall to that sucker punch.
And a few running repairs required for Stoke City and some of their players in the first half. The young centre-half Ryan Shawcross, he broken his nose in the clash of heads in the first half, and altogether more serious the injury to Stephen Wright, which saw him stretch it off. We can update you on the latest on that. Greg Whelan has it.
Thanks, Bill. Not good news, I'm afraid, for Stephen Wright. Medical staff here suspect ligament damage to the left ankle. He will be getting an X-ray on it just to make sure it's nothing more serious than that. But of course, for a player who's had surgery on both his left and right ankles in the last 18 months or so, still clearly a cause for some concern.
Here's Reid. Charlton Athletic free kick after a slightly overzealous challenge on Andy Reid, who is playing more centrally than he has done for much of his career. This afternoon being asked to play a more disciplined role, perhaps.
I think the hope is that they can get him on the ball so he can pull the strings for them, Charlton. They want to play this passing game, and they need somebody in there that can do that.
Nearly managed to find the gap through to Jerome Thomas. And Thatcher across. Quieter start to the season this year than 12 months ago. It was almost 12 months to the day that he was involved in that incident, which saw him become public enemy #1, really. The clash with Pedro Mendes when he was in the colours of Manchester City. Pedro Mendes of Portsmouth then, of course. The flag is up. Fuller appeals that there was nothing he did wrong, but came off his hand in the eyes of the referee's assistant.
He's close enough to see it from there, isn't he? Just have to take his word for it.
Mutakil. Bugera. Samido. Thatcher and Thomas. You do wonder, Don, whether it's an injury to Lloyd Sam, which saw him taken off at half-time, because he was among the most effective weapons in Charlton's attacking armoury.
Well, I thought whenever he got on the ball, he was a threat. He was dangerous, and he was causing Stoke's right side and left side all kinds of problems, and pacey, tricky. like to think it is an injury.
Just touched forward by Rory Delap, who was caught late. No advantage apparent, so another free kick. Delap, who had one of the host of Stoke chances in the first half.
It's a very slow start to the second half, Bill. Just about tempo. Sometimes, you know, Stoke do much better when they raise that tempo, put teams under pressure, get in teams' face. Not started the second half like that at all yet.
It's helped on its way by Sidibe. Mutakil. Cresswell. Coming back from an offside position. He couldn't attempt to play out Ricardo Fuller unless the free kick is given, although he didn't appear to move towards the ball.
I don't understand that, because under the letter of the law, the referee shouldn't be blowing. Ricardo Fuller made no attempt whatsoever to close that ball down or go the other way. So play should have continued for me.
Iwelumo. It came off Delap. Now Jerome Thomas. Craddock. Rounded out by Iwelumo. Now Reid. And Thomas. Jerome Thomas!
That's a good effort, isn't it? Come inside off his wing. Jerome Thomas finds himself in quite a bit of space in the end, and it's not closed down very quickly at all. Decides to have a pop, see what he's trying to do. You see Steve Simonson in the goal. I think at first he thinks that's well wide, and then realises it's not actually that far and ends up scrambling across.
This is Cresswell. Looked in the summer like he was as good as a Hull City player. Was certainly very close to signing there, but Stoke City able to steal in after negotiations with Leeds broke down, and so moved to the Potteries instead. This is Fuller. And Lewis Buxton.
They just never looked comfortable there, did they, Stoke, you know? Never really looked comfortable in possession in the middle of the park there. Now they're in trouble.
Iwelumo got the better of Dickinson there, and the foul has been given. On another day he might have got away with it.
You're right. Possibly a little generous, but on his old stamping ground, keen to impress. He's a physical lad.
Career which has taken him high and low. Chris Iwelumo started off in Scotland, played in England, of course, Germany and Denmark as well. He's playing in German football when he was brought here back in 2000 by the then Icelandic manager Gudjon Thordarson. Shawcross. Here's Dickinson. Either side settling as they would like in the early stages of this second half. Which is strange, particularly from Stoke's perspective. You might have expected them to come out with something like the intensity they started the match with.
Well, they proved, didn't they, in that first 10-15 minutes, they proved how much they could trouble Charlton by playing at that high intensity, but no sign of it just yet.
Shock and awe tactics which very nearly had the Charlton defence crumbling, but it's now their own defence under pressure, and a block off by Shawcross, which will lead to just a free kick.
Yeah, he realised he was going to be second to that ball. Stepped right across the line. Almost a professional foul, isn't it?
Majid Bugera. Yassin Mutakil. Reid looking for the return, but again Cresswell showing that he is very handy at tracking back in this new midfield role he's got. Good Charlton pressing. It's fallen here for Andy Reid, who falls on the edge of the box, and it is a Charlton free kick.
It's Mutakil struggling on the right-hand side. But a very, very dangerous situation for Stoke City now. Richard Cresswell tackling back. Left his team in a bit of trouble though. Got a bit careless, and eventually Stoke concede a free kick. Very, very dangerous situation, especially when you've got the likes of Andy Reid on the scene.
Deep in discussion here, Darren Ambrose also enjoys taking a set piece when given a chance, and we know that Ben Thatcher can provide power from this sort of situation, so spoilt for choice here, Charlton. Thatcher backs away. It's going to be the right foot of Ambrose or the left of Reid, and they break the Britannia deadlock.
It's a huge wall. I'm not sure the goalkeeper can see anything from there. That is huge.
Just now telling the man in the water, cut it out. Reid! It's 1-0 to Charlton Athletic. The Stoke wall is breached, and Andy Reid, the Charlton captain, puts them in front.
Well, it's very, very simple. Andy Reid, he hasn't actually tried to do anything other than hit the target. He knows that man there, Steve Simonson, he can't see a thing. That wall was massive. Just look at the angle. Look where Steve Simonson is there. And I think actually it takes a very, very lucky deflection.
He didn't stand a chance, did he, Steve Simonson? And Charlton now have a chance to get their first 3 points of the season on the board. Remember, they led last week at home against Scunthorpe and pegged back. Try and ensure that the same doesn't happen here. In the joy of the Charlton goal, there's a little bit of concern. Yassine Moutakil, as a result of that Cresswell challenge, is being carried off down the tunnel. So we're temporarily down to 10 men while they get a substitution ready. It looks like it's going to be Paddy McCarthy, the summer signing from Leicester City, who's going to come on.
A little bit of joy and a little bit of sorrow. They've lost Moutakil. They've certainly got something to defend now, and Paddy McCarthy was an integral part. But that man there, Andy Reid, all he's done his job. He knows that Simonson can't see a thing in that goal. And all he's got to do is try and find the target. OK, he was a little bit fortunate. Took a huge deflection. But I think questions are going to be asked afterwards.
Andy Reid, his second goal in 4 days. He scored in the Carling Cup. Here's Ricardo Fuller! Oh, an equaliser to savour, and then some. Charlton just can't hold on to a lead this season, but that was special.
Well, absolutely no chance for that man there. Let's give all the credit to Ricardo Fuller, because he's got his back to goal. He gets on the end of the flick on. He's got an awful lot to do, but manages to get half turned, and that is a wonderful strike. But it's route one. But he's strong, works a half a yard, and curls a beautiful shot into the corner. And how often do you see it, Bill? How often, when you've just scored a goal, are you at your most vulnerable?
Short cross. Well, everything was going according to plan for Charlton, wasn't it? The early storm negotiated with a few scares. Scrappy start to the second half. Free kick opportunity taken, and lead given away. History repeating itself in the space of a week for Alan Pardew's side. Just under 2 minutes between the goals. Said last week, didn't he, that the side is on a learning curve and they must learn how to defend after taking the lead. They haven't learned the lesson from last week. Couldn't have done anything about the finish, but I suppose it's the way that Ricardo Fuller was allowed to get himself into that position he'll be more concerned with, the Charlton manager.
Well, they didn't deal with the second ball, and they haven't dealt with this one here.
Fuller's buzzing, looking to play a providing role. Cross comes Ben Thatcher. Here's Ambrose. Free kick goes Charlton's way. A little nudge by Craddock there on Marcus Bent. barrage of goals in a space of 2 minutes has served to just up the tempo and bring the edge that the first half had back to the game. Sidibe. Thomas. Iwelumo won the header. Marcus Bent and Andy Reid get in each other's way, but it's the captain and Charlton goalscorer who spreads it straight out of play. Here's Bent. Jonathan Fortune. Bent. Anthony was fouled there by Dickinson, but play will go on. Cresswell. Been a little bit of a reshuffle, and Jonathan Fortune has gone to right back, but it was off his back that the ball cannon into the back of the net of Andy Reid's free kick. Might just be a goal that Jonathan Fortune can lay claim to. Away by Bugera, strong by Matteo. Bent. Samido. Jerome Thomas. Andy Reid. Thatcher hugging that touchline. Reid again. Charlton do have bodies in the box this time. Samido. Iwelumo pulls away from his man, Chris Iwelumo. Well, was it Andy Reid's goal for Charlton, or was it Jonathan Fortune's? Let's have a look, Dom.
You can see quite clearly the view that Steve Simonson's got, and it's not, he hasn't got one at all, but look, ball strikes, Jonathan Fortune on the back, and that's the thing that deflects it into the net, and he'll want to claim it, I'm sure, against his old club.
Small discussion, I'm sure, between Jonathan Fortune and Andy Reid as to whose goal it is, but no doubt about it, the last touch came off the man who spent last season here at the Britannia Stadium. Here's Cresswell. A bit over-ambitious, as it turns out. Reid. Thomas. Marcus Bent. Showing Shawcross why he is so highly rated and why he's been earning the plaudits early on, not just for his goal scoring, but he's looked solid at the back as well, hasn't he?
He doesn't look to have bundles of pace, the young man, but he certainly reads the game extremely well.
Iwelumo. When they do go direct, Charlton, they'll be looking to pick out Chris Iwelumo.
Well, now they've got the option of both, haven't they, Bill? You know, they can go direct, knowing full well they've got a big, strong forward up there, or they can pass the ball nice and neatly and try and manufacture the opening.
Jerome Thomas. Here's Ambrose. That challenge came in the nick of time from Cresswell, who came in off the flank, whereas Ambrose can't hit them from that sort of range and treble keepers.
He's done very, very well in a defensive side of things, Richard Cresswell. I'm sure it's not what he wants to be doing. He wants to be going forward, but he's having to make one or two last-ditch tackles here for his team. Happy to do that.
Maji Bugera. They look for Iwelumo. It's a test for young Shawcross, trying to keep Iwelumo quiet when he is isolated with it. Thomas. Iwelumo! That wasn't far wide from the former Stoke man.
It was a very, very clever little flick. He knew exactly where he was on the pitch, and as Thomas cuts in here, whips it in, he knows he's just got to help it on. And that is very close, a very good effort.
And decided he needed a new challenge after helping Colchester to that wonderful season last year, along with Jamie Curitan up front, terrorising championship defences. His best ever league tally last year, 18 league goals, following the 19 he got in all competitions the season before that, which was his best tally in all competitions.
He's had a great last couple of seasons, hasn't he, big Chris Uwalumu? Found his goal-scoring touch. Makes a huge difference to confidence when you're a striker.
They sold the man who's been responsible for getting so many of their goals in the Premiership over the last couple of seasons. Darren Bent, of course, £17 million for him from Spurs, but going to be able to spread around these striking duties this season. Luke Varney, who hasn't featured yet, prolific at this level for a struggling Crewe side over the last few seasons.
You think on paper, don't you, that they've got 5 good strikers that could potentially all score goals at this level. Been very busy in that department, Alan Pardew.
It's a fascinating blend of players he's actually got together this season. We mentioned earlier on the Mutakil, who's unfortunately had to go off injured. Semedo, the young Portuguese, both under 21 internationals for their respective countries. And you've got experienced old campaigners at this level, the likes of Uwalumo and Varney, I say old, they're still in their 20s. And of course you've got the smattering of players who've been with Charlton in the Premiership.
It is a good mix. It's a potential promotion winning mix, isn't it? That's the idea for Alan Pardew and his boys. An awful lot of getting to know you to be done, though. I think sometimes that can just lead to a little bit of uncertainty. Charlton, it's been a patchy performance so far by them. You can see that potentially they can get the ball down and play lovely football and create chances. On the other hand, they've got to get hardened to this championship in-your-face style of play that they're going to encounter on a weekly basis.
That's right, isn't it? It's one thing assembling all the ingredients, it's another blending them all together in a way that will earn you a very difficult path out of the division. Marcus Bent. Reid looking for Uwalumo. He's kept it alive and gave Ambrose something to try and get his teeth into. Matteo. Fuller. Terrific battling from Ricardo Fuller, the Stoke goal scorer.
Well, he's lucky in the end, Bill, I have to say, because he's got a free kick, but he managed to wriggle his way out of trouble and then turned right back in from where he came and got away with it in the end.
Very, very difficult to predict which way this game is going to go. Just over a quarter of it remaining. Charlton getting their noses in front. A deflected Reid free kick off Jonathan Fortune. Ricardo Fuller getting his goal tally for the season up and running with a lovely hit shot from just on the edge of the penalty area, curving it beyond Nicky Weaver. 1 minute 55 seconds. Charlton were in front.
See what was wrong with that challenge by Fuller. To a little bit of heated debate in the end. Still always trying to get a grip of it.
Graham Laws acts as peacemaker between the Jamaican and the Algerian. Here's Thatcher. Ambrose able to pick out Reid, and he's had its pockets picked by Richard Cresswell. Cresswell still going, but halted in his tracks just when it started to look quite promising for the home side.
He did well initially, Richard Cresswell, but Ricardo Fuller actually ran into his space. He made a run in behind Richard Cresswell and closed up the space, made it harder for him.
Now here comes Marcus Bent. And Pardew's put a lot of responsibility on his shoulders at the moment in the striking department. It's Bent +1 on the team sheet. Here's Ben Thatcher.
renowned for his goal scoring, is he? But saw a little gap. Decided to have a pop. Long way out though, Ben Thatcher.
He's a Leicester City player the last time he scored a goal. Ben Thatcher, 3.5 years ago. Still battling away here, Marcus Bent. Thatcher and Jerome Thomas. No foul. It's the full-back Buxton.
He did well in the end, young Lewis Buxton.
Fuller. Charlton in strongly. Enough of the ball for Graham Lawes' liking.
It's got a bit spread out this game, but open up a little bit in the last 20 minutes.
I was going to say, it's starting to simmer a little, and you do get the sense there's the potential there for it to come to the boil. To a nice little climax in this last 20 minutes or so.
One thing's for sure, you know that one side or another are going to get an opportunity to win this game. They can take it.
Thomas. Reid. Coming forward to try and help out. But, only red and white shirts forward. And they just have ideas and options, but Fuller's persistence might just pay off.
There's a man who knew exactly what his former teammate was going to try and do. Read it well and used his body well. It's good defending by Jonathan Fortune.
I suppose we say it's the two goal scorers, isn't it? Jonathan Fortune and Ricardo Fuller. One knew a little bit more about it than the other.
Two slightly different goals, but they all count the same.
Thomas. Sanida, who Pardew sees as a midfielder, he hopes to play that sitting role, the deeper midfield role. Here's Matthew. And Fortune. Iwalumo. Fortune again. Reid, with patient build-up by Charlton, without the end product. Some concern here for Stoke City is that Ricardo Fuller's not moving too cleanly at the moment.
There's another one, isn't he, Ricardo Fuller? He's had a certain amount of injury problems throughout his career. I'm sure his manager will be just hoping it's nothing too serious.
At this early stage of the season, they won't want to take too many chances with Fuller, who is the main man in the striking terms.
It's not moving well at all, to be fair.
And you have a beast on the bench to come on. John Parkin, whose nickname is the Beast. I think he's going to come on sooner rather than later to relieve Ricardo Fuller.
If he does, there certainly isn't going to be any respite for those Charlton defenders, particularly in the air, in the aerial threat.
McCarthy, taken off his toes by Ambrose. Parkin is ready. This is Chris Iwalumo. Marcus Bent. Fortune on the charge. And Cresswell again. doing some textbook defensive work.
He's been happy to get forward, Jonathan Fortune, hasn't he? Probably not noted as an attacking right back, but he's getting forward very well.
And this is the contribution, a significant one from Ricardo Fuller. Finally taken goal, which pegged back Charlton under a couple of minutes after they took the lead.
Super finish. All those Stoke supporters going to be hoping that's nothing too serious.
Long throw by Jonathan Fortune, a touch on by Bent, but a foul in there. It's been an afternoon that's certainly had its fair share of chances. It's also had its fair share of injuries. Stephen Wright, with suspected ankle ligament damage, he's going for a scan, and the young French fullback Yacine Moutakil, who started the game at right back for Charlton, also with suspected ankle ligament damage. And like the former Liverpool and Sunderland defender, he too will have to wait to see exactly what the severity of it is. Into the mix, a broken nose for Ryan Shawcross, who's still out there playing, and we're not quite sure what the problem is for Ricardo Fuller. Treatment rooms will be busy in the coming days before the next outing for these two sides. Thwarted by Shawcross.
Getting into the nitty-gritty now, aren't we? 15 minutes to go. Which side wants to win it? He's done his bit. Urge his team forward from the bench now.
Even more beef up front with the introduction of John Parkin. Sidibe they look for, and Parkin trying to get on the end of the big man's header. Very, very busy first 25 minutes, half an hour of the match, Nicky Weaver, but has had a bit of a breather in this second period, hasn't he?
This just seems to have petered out. Stoke, they just haven't been able to get that quality ball into the box that they got in those first 15 minutes.
More injury concerns here. Marcus Bent, the latest to require a bit of treatment. It's Jonathan Fortune, who is still adamant he wants to claim that goal.
When you get the opportunity against a former club to try and claim a goal, I don't think there's any danger. The powers that be are going to say that's Fortune's goal. Andy Reid saying, hang on a minute, that's got to be mine. Get away, he says, it's mine.
Well, at that point it was all sunshine and light for Charlton ahead in the match, but last week it was around 7 minutes that they held the lead against Scunthorpe before they were pegged back. This week, 1 minute 55 seconds. Either of these two sides is going to show the appetite to come away with all 3 points. Reid. Thomas. He's taken a deflection, which allows Matteo to get a touch. Andy Reid. And Sidibe back there doing some defending. And now some attacking.
That highlights everything that Stoke are all about. Sidibe back in his own half, defending and turning defence into attack.
John Parkin, the substitute. Oh, it's set up here for Parkin, and Stoke City are in front. Off the bench to fire them into the lead. It is John Parkin, and it is 2-1.
Oh, I'll tell you what, for a big man, how about that for a turn? Terrific finish as well, but John Parkin just fresh into the fray. I think he offers himself. It's good play by Sidibe. Parkin offers himself back to goal. Great little turn. I think a little nutmeg in there, but he's still got an awful lot to do from there. But he very calmly bends that into the far corner. That is a fantastic finish. Look at that little nutmeg. Take that. What an introduction that is.
He finished last season with a flourish of goals, and he's picked up where he's left off. They have turned it on its head, Stoke City. And Charlton have just over 11 minutes to try and salvage something here.
I think it's going to be a big 11 minutes for Alan Pardew's team, because surprisingly we're held to a draw by Scunthorpe last week. The last thing he would have expected would be to have 1 point after his first 2 games. It's got time for him, of course, but they're going to have to show a little bit more than they have done Charlton. I think in general, over the course of this first 79 minutes or so, I think they've been second best in general.
Some tricky looking fixtures coming up as well. Sheffield Wednesday, who finished last season so spectacularly at home, that's the next game, and then one of the fixtures that all the Charlton supporters were looking for, the away game against local rivals Crystal Palace. That's the next trip on the road. Then they go to Colchester, so strong at home last season. It's not long towards the end of September when they take on their former manager Ian Dowie at Coventry City. No easy baptism, no easy return to the Championship for Alan Pardew and Charlton, that's for sure.
Well, he said before the game that by the end of this game he knew what kind of a game it was going to be. He would have found out a lot more about his team. 10 minutes to hope that his thoughts turn a little bit more positive. Not a great away record, as you can see.
Personnel, but same old problems in terms of winning games by the look of things for Charlton. No win of any of their final 7 league games last year as their Premiership status ebbed away.
I think one of the massive problems they've had over the last few years is that when you took Darren Bent out of the equation, there weren't very many other players chipping in with an awful lot of goals, and I just wonder whether that's going to be something. He's tried to redress it in the transfer market, but so far they're not carving Stoke open and creating many chances. Not as many as he would hope anyway, that's for sure.
One chance, 1 goal for John Parkin. And 1 yellow card here. Lewis Buxton's card. Floated forward by Andy Reid. Parkin. McCarthy. In by Paddy McCarthy. Firmly red and white ball. And Ambrose has it back. Only briefly. Buxton.
Going to need to be better than that. And Andy Reid. Tony Pulis is trying to organise his team for the last 8 minutes or so. Make sure that they can hang on to this lead.
If they can, they'll be up there with the cluster of sides at the top of the Championship pecking order after a couple of games. 2 games, 6 points. And you can't say fairer than that.
It's as good as it gets. I know there's still time for Ipswich, but you mentioned earlier that Stoke hadn't won their opening 2 games for quite some considerable time.
Probably the first time in 5 seasons that they've managed to do it. Always thought it would be the odd goal which would decide this one, and so it looks. John Parkin, the man who's provided the smallest of buffers for the home side. Matteo. This is Buxton. so many changes like Charlton have had in the summer in terms of particularly the playing staff, and plenty of changes behind the scenes as well. You wonder how much of a hangover you have at a club from the season before, but Charlton, although not all of it, Alan Pardew's doing, did have the worst away record in English football last year. And down, but not quite out yet. Thomas, Reid. Iwelumo wanted the early ball play. He's the man in position at the far post. Well closed down. There's one thing that Stoke, you would think, will be able to do is protect a lead. Is that the case as Ambrose comes in?
Well, a couple of ricochets there have led to a corner.
Reid. One picked up the short corner. Andy Reid. Took him a little too much. Thomas. That's deflected off Bugera and thundered away by Mamadi Sidibe. Stoke have everyone back in and around their penalty area. Gaping areas in the middle of the pitch.
I think they're going to look to keep most of their players behind the ball from here on in Stoke City.
Charlton looking for that spark though, a little something special. Perhaps a little bit of luck like they had with their first goal. Something required to get this breakthrough.
They need to try and do a Stoke, don't they? They need to be getting the ball in the box with good quality, putting Stoke under pressure.
Here's Darren Ambrose on his left foot.
That's a good strike. But I tell you what, it's good hands from Simonsen. They take a quick one. Stoke are slow to react. Good skill by Ambrose. But I tell you what, well held on Steve Simonsen, because Charlton had bodies following that in for that tap-in off the rebound.
Lewis Buxton. Parkin. He was on loan here last season, just under £300,000. Brought him here on a permanent basis in the summer.
It's recalled back to Hull, wasn't it? A very bad timing for Stoke towards the end of the season.
Neatly worked for Liam Lawrence. Dickinson eyeing up a spectacular. Very nearly turned into a useful one for Sidibe.
There's absolutely no doubt about it. That was a shot from young Dickinson. It doesn't matter. Once it opens up the space, he sees it, goes for goal, pulls it a little bit, and Sidibe very nearly on the end of that.
Pardew urging his side forward quickly. Fortune obliging. Up it comes to Iwelumo, nearly came for Ambrose. Now Jerome Thomas. Thomas for Charlton. Can he spread away through? Flag goes up. It won't count. Iwelumo denied.
That's very, very clever. Quick feet by Jerome Thomas. As he slides that ball through, Chris Iwelumo clearly not offside. Doesn't have to be. He's saying, slot that ball a bit earlier and I might have been onside, but it's a good decision by the assistant referee.
Back in the first half, didn't you, Don? You thought Charlton would settle for a point. So when the scores were level, they'd certainly grab one off you now.
Oh, not half. The trouble is, you know, you just wonder where is that going to come from. Really okay. Darren Ambrose, nice, neat shot he had. Simonsen was always in control of that. You just wonder where that goal threat is going to come from Charlton today.
We've seen this season, perhaps more than many, in all the divisions, the fact that panic buttons are being pressed so early on in the season. I think Sunderland showed last year that there's no need to panic on the first month or so of the season. defeat after defeat before Roy Keane came in and turned it round. Defeat, of course, if it stays like this for Charlton, would leave them with just a solitary point, 5 points off the championship pace after a couple of games.
Charlton particularly, they, up until last season, really renowned for the stability that they had. 15 years, Alan Kirbishley, and all of a sudden they end up with 3 managers within the space of a year. You can't have that within a club. You certainly can't have that and be successful, and they will know that, Charlton.
Very different as well from last time they came down, where they pretty much kept all the playing staff back in the 1999-2000 season, and bounced back straight away with the same group, having to win matches and rebuild and bond at the same time. Big task for Alan Pardew. Reid.
It's all a bit congested in there. Andy Reid trying to thread the ball through the eye of a needle to Jerome Thomas, but he needs width. He needs Jerome Thomas to plant his feet out wide, make the pass easy, and then Jerome Thomas needs to be getting good quality balls into that box, and Charlton need to be committing players in there. That's not happening. Not long for them to change that now either.
Well, look at Stoke City's start to the season. They've looked at an away trip to Cardiff with a new signing of Robbie Fowler, even though, of course, he didn't feature last week, and then Charlton, the Premiership X's here for their first home game. Not a bad effort there from Liam Lawrence, was it? I'm just going to go on to say 2 wins out of 2 becomes even better.
Well, he's got a good right foot on him. That took a vicious deflection. Could have looped over Nicky Weaver very easily, but Stoke City certainly not going to be in any hurry now. Ben Thatcher telling the referee that. Stop that clock, ref.
3 minutes was the time signalled. He worked, Liam Lawrence. Sadibi across at the far post. Short crosses still forward. Can he keep up his good goal-scoring start to the season? Lawrence!
Well, they had men over as well, Stoke. Men over behind Liam Lawrence, but he went for goal. Got to get back quickly now.
Need to attack at pace, or needed to. It's a little too ponderous to catch Stoke napping anyway.
Just got no width whatsoever over there on that left-hand side. Jerome Thomas is in the centre-forward position almost.
Thomas has found a little bit of space. Finds the shot saved by Simonson.
But once again, good hands by Steve Simonson. He knows that he can't afford to spill that ball. It was a routine save for a goalkeeper of his calibre.
A little bit of competition for his place this season as well, hasn't he, with the permanent arrival of Russell Holt. Still very much number 1, although his great run in the side and all competitions came to an end when Russell Holt started the Carling Cup defeat here to Rochdale in the week. We'll make another change here quickly, Stoke, to try and eat up a few more seconds. John Eustace stripped and ready for action.
It's got to hurt. I should have suspect that is going to be a yellow card. Jonathan Fortune.
And the goal, it looks like it's in vain from Jonathan Fortune on his return here, and a yellow card to add to the pain.
High, and to be fair to Jonathan Fortune, it is one of those that always looks a smidgen worse than it actually is, but it is a yellow card.
Liam Lawrence is going to be replaced there by John Eustace. Stoke City seconds away from confirming their 100% start to the season.
He's done very well. He's done what his manager would have wanted, hasn't he, there? Big Parkin. He's got the ball into his chest. He stayed strong, held the ball up, and he's drawn the foul.
He's got away from his man again here, Parkin. At this stage, not all important. Charlton pegged right back, and Charlton's hopes of building on their opening day draw have floundered in the potteries. Jerome Thomas might have other ideas, though. Look how many players Stoke City have back and how few Charlton have forward, though.
Well, that's just really quite remarkable. Jerome Thomas is herring down the wing. Charlton have got one player in the box. They're very lucky. They've got a free kick. They've got a last opportunity to get that ball in the danger area now. It's do or die.
One final chance, one yellow card for John Eustace, as you saw that just minutes after coming on. It's Reid's delivery, and it's Parkin who is the hero at both ends. John Parkin off the bench to deliver 3 precious points for Stoke City. The 100%ers in the Championship. They have seen off Charlton's challenge by 2-1.
Much for Alan Pardew to ponder, even at this early stage of the season. Perfect start for Tony Pulis and Stoke City. They are top, 2 wins out of 2. The only other team to manage that so far are Watford. No one else who won in the first weekend has managed to win today, and 3 teams yet to pick up a point. Southampton 2 defeats out of 2. Wolves and Sheffield Wednesday in action tomorrow, and Charlton are there in 16th. Super Sunday. What a day it is. Manchester City against Manchester United. 1 o'clock, Sky Sports 1 and HD1. It's Liverpool-Chelsea from 3:30 on the same channel. Here at the Britannia Stadium, the Beast is the hero for the home side. It's 2 wins out of 2. All the analysis and reaction coming next. Stoke have won it here. Ricardo Fuller pulling them level. His replacement, John Parkin, came up with a winner 10 minutes from time. The man of the match is Ryan Shawcross. He's with Greg Whelan.
Ryan, a win against one of the pre-season promotion favourites. How pleased are you at Stoke with the way your season started?
Definitely a win at Cardiff, a win here. This is what we came for, and we're flying at the moment. And some players put in some great performances. I thought Jody Craddock, without training with us, was different class today, and John Parkin came on and scored a great goal.
When you went behind early on in the second half there to that free kick, was there a fear amongst the players you might not get back into it against a good side like Charlton?
It's hard because they were playing some good football and we were being pressed quite a lot, but I knew we'd come through, and we got some good goals. Ricardo Fuller was a great goal.
Now, in the first half, you suffered an injury. It looked like to your nose. How is the nose? You thought at half-time it might even be broken.
It is broken, I think. Sore, I can't breathe out of it, but it's what I came here for, to toughen up.
Well, it's certainly a good test against the pre-season promotion favourites. You are the Powerade man of the match, Ryan. Many congratulations to you.
Cheers, thank you.
Well done today.
Cheers.
Ryan Shawcross with a broken nose, playing through the 90 minutes. Was that almost the difference between the sides? At Stoke prepared to go that extra mile today, Peter?
Absolutely. You know, you're seeing the team spirit, the work ethic, particularly epitomised by Creswell playing out of position, but tracking back and putting plenty of tackles in, you know, for the cause. They were tremendous today.
Charlton struck first in that second half. They might have thought they'd gone on to win it at this stage. Free kick, the goalkeepers just can't see it, can
Yeah, well, Andy Reid, a lot of bodies there, and it was Jonathan Fortune giving it the bum steer. So, yeah, a lot of luck involved in this goal. We just see it there, hits him on the backside and goes past him. And it took something like that to beat Simonsen, because he was top draw today.
An interesting change here as well, because Jonathan Fortune then moved to right back. Paddy McCarthy on, has to deal here with Ricardo Fuller for the first time. As soon as he's come on the pitch. Is that the difference?
Absolutely, almost a carbon copy of where the Delap thing comes from. Sidibe winning the ball in the air, physical strength, and a great finish from Fuller, using him as a wall and beating the keeper. And with Sidibe again, he was tremendous. Work ethic, as we said. Unselfish run by Creswell. Parkin gets it, twinkle toes, Premiership finish. Fantastic it was. Quick feet, sees the defender commit himself. It's Paddy McCarthy again. You know, it's got the tools in the locker to pull it out there and guide it into the top corner. Conference hairstyle, though, Dave. Premiership finish, conference hairstyle.
You can tell him that. He is a beast. Surely a very happy Stoke manager, Tony Pulis, is with Greg.
Well, Tony, congratulations. That's 2 wins out of 2 in the league. What did you think of the performance today, though?
Well, I thought, first half especially, I thought we played some good stuff and created lots and lots of opportunities. And we were just disappointed we never come in winning. And then second half, to be fair, you know, they've got some good players. They keep the ball well. The goal was very, very disappointing. Deflection, that's a little bit of luck, but we showed good character in coming back.
I was going to say, what tribute do you pay to the players? They're up against a good side like Charlton, and they came back from behind early in the second half.
Well, you look at the back four, second half, right, he goes off, and then we've got Buxton, the big lad Shawcross and Dickinson are all early, or teens or early 20s. They've done smashing, and I thought Jody hasn't even trained. He's just turned up today and played because of Higginbottom's injury. I thought Jody was magnificent.
You just missed out on the playoffs last season. You finished 8th. Do you feel you can pick up where you left off last season?
Well, we have. What we've got to do, we've got to try and get some players in and then push on from there.
Many congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
It is 2 wins out of 2. Peter, is Stoke City almost better equipped at this level to do well than Charlton?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we saw last week the difference between Wolves and Watford. Margin of error is not a lot when you play direct football. Chase down the second ball, and they've got willing runners in the channels as well. But they're very, very disciplined. Fine youth, a mixture of experience and youth there with Shawcross and Craddock.
Charlton have overhauled their squads. How long is that going to take for them to bed down together, do you think?
It's going to take a while. They've flooded it top end with spent a lot of money on strikers, but we've seen today they were devoid of craft and guile in the midfield, particularly with Ambrose and Reid not performing.
Peter, thank you very much for your time. We'll see you again next week, and we'll hopefully see you as well at Bramall Lane. Sheffield United up against West Brom. Brian Robson up against his former club. And next Sunday as well, Ipswich against Crystal Palace. That is from 1 o'clock on Sky Sports 1 and HD1. All-day football continues on Sky Sports 1. Next up, it's the football phone in 8:25 for Football First, featuring Tottenham and Derby in the game of the day.